And now, chapter 17, the punishment of Loki. That year, at the feast of Aegir, remember, every winter they spend the whole winter drinking and having a great, crazy time in the kingdom of Aegir. He is the god of the deep sea and hospitality. Remember, Thor got that mead kettle for him so that he could be the god of hospitality. And at that feast, it's a real downer this year. No one's having a good time. Everyone's just moping around. And Loki crashes the party. He's not really invited because everyone distrusts him. But at this point, they have no reason to really keep him out. He behaves like a jerk. He is dancing and singing, and he kind of flirts with Freya, and he takes a sip out of Thor's mead cup. Nobody drinks out of Thor's cup. And he generally makes a nuisance of himself until Thor takes out his hammer and says, "Loki, calm it down or I'm going to have to take you outside." Loki gets offended, and he makes a huge mistake. He says, "Why are you angry at me? It's not my fault. Blame Thought." Now, if you recall, I said Odin didn't tell anybody the name of the giantess. Thought was really Loki in disguise. Remember how when Loki wants to deceive somebody, turns himself into a female? He was a giantess. And he is the one who refused to weep for Balder. And now it all becomes clear to Odin. Odin now sees that his blood brother is responsible for the death of all the goodness of the world. And at that moment, Odin is furious. He turns to Thor. Loki realizes his mistake. He puts on his boogie shoes and goes. Literally, he puts on his wildfire shoes and runs across the sky to get away from them. All right, he goes into hiding. He's somewhere in Jotunheim. He's up on a hill. Jotunheim is really, really mountainous. And the odd thing about the place Loki has created for himself, he doesn't know from which direction the Aesir are going to come after him. So on this hill, he builds a house. Let me see if I can draw it well here. He builds this house that has doorways facing in every direction. And so he can see, hopefully, whichever way they come from. But he also has an exit strategy. At the bottom of this hill, there is a swift running stream that pours down the mountainside. He intends to change himself into a salmon. The Norse were really impressed at how fast a salmon is. So his plan is to change himself into a fish and downriver. While he's sitting there and thinking, he has nothing to occupy his mind. And Loki is a thinker. He can't turn it off. And he's thinking, this is a perfect strategy. Nothing's going to be able to catch this fish. What could possibly catch a fish? And he starts thinking about it. He thinks more and more, and he takes some threads. And he's like, well, if I do this with the threads, and he weaves a net out of those strands. He makes the first fishing net. And as soon as he gets finished, he goes, wow, it's really lucky the Aesir don't have one of these. Oh, man. And at that moment, he looks out the window and sees them coming. So he ditches this onto the fire. He burns it. He's like, oh, this is incriminating. I don't need this. And he throws it in the fire. He dashes down the hill, changes into a salmon, and he's gone. The Aesir break in, and they start looking around for clues. Loki's gotten away again. How are we ever going to catch him? Heimdall is the one that finds the remnants of this in the fire. He says, what could these twisted threads be? He says, well, if they kept going in every direction, you could catch fish with this. Remember, Heimdall is Loki's special enemy. He is almost as clever as Loki, and he hates Loki. So Heimdall is the one that puts it together. He recreates the fish net. And they start to sweep the river for Loki. They catch him in the net. Thor, with one of his iron gloves, got the prop, I might as well use it. With one of his iron gloves, he grabs hold of that salmon's tail as Loki's trying to get away. And that's supposedly why the top fluke on a salmon's tail is elongated. A salmon's tail kind of looks like this. The big long tail like that, and then a little thing on the bottom. This part's long. I know it's not a very good fish tail. But this is the part that's been stretched out by Thor holding onto it. Now, they force Loki back into his human-like form, his god form. And they march him through the 9 worlds. Everybody wants a piece of him. Everybody blames him for the death and the non-resurrection of Balder. They all know it's his fault now. They put it all together that he was the old woman as well. So, everybody wants to kill him. Thor is put in a position where he has to protect Loki. This is part of Thor's responsibilities as the god of oath. You have to protect the guilty before they are tried. That's something we do in our legal system too. It goes back at least to the Norse, where if someone is accused of something, they have to have a trial before they can be heard. So Thor actually has to warn the crowds back with his hammer and protect Loki. Now, in your book it says that he had something else in mind, that he knows Loki faces a greater punishment. But I want to stress that it's the idea that he is the protector of sworn oaths that makes him have to protect Loki. All right, they put him on trial. Let me make some room for the trial here. They put him on trial before Forseti. Odin, because he is his blood brother, Odin cannot speak on his behalf. I guess he could, but he couldn't try him, I'm sorry. Forseti, the god of justice and judgment, sits over the trial of Loki. They ask if anyone will stand and speak for him. One person stands. Remember his wife, faithful Sigyn? Well, his wife, faithful Sigyn, does stand up for him. But she can't speak. I mean, there's nothing to say. Yes, she will stand by her man, but she can't speak on his behalf because there's no excuse. There's nothing she can say to make up for what he's done. It's really kind of sad. So, he is found guilty, and he is sentenced to a terrible, terrible punishment. And by our standards, kind of gruesome and unfair in some ways. Now, Loki and Sigyn have 2 sons. The Aesir use their magic to turn one of the sons into a wolf. He kills his brother and rips out his intestines. I know, they didn't do anything. Why are they punished? They're Loki's children. That's good enough for them. The intestines are given to a guy named Dvalin. Anybody remember him? Dvalin Ivaldison, the son of Ivaldi, who was robbed by Loki. Remember, Loki stole the spear from Dvalin, and he stole Skidbladnir to give to Frey. Dvalin is finally getting his revenge. He takes the intestines and he makes them into special bonds. Remember, he helped with the making of Gleipnir, so he knows about making stuff into special bonds. Loki's imprisonment. He is in a dark, lightless hole. He is strapped down on 3 sharp rocks. Each of those rocks represents his greatest crimes. First, he tried, it's attempted murder against Thor. So attempted to kill Thor. His other 2 great crimes both involve Balder. He's responsible for the death of Balder and the non-resurrection. He made it so that Balder couldn't come back. There we go. Alright. Those are his 3 crimes. Those are the sharp stones. In addition, here he is strapped down to the 3 sharp stones. He's in the lightless cave, and hanging over him, it's hard to see in this one, there is a poisonous serpent, or I guess a venomous snake. A venomous serpent. And that is hung over him by Scotty. Remember back in the chapter of Scotty's Choice? She laughed, he made her laugh, and that's why she had to get married to old Njord, because he fulfilled the other part of the Vergild and made her laugh. And she's laughing, and she says, yeah, I'm going to get you for that someday. Today's the day. She hangs the serpent over Loki, and it drips poison onto his face. And apparently it's some sort of acidic poison that eats into his face, because it's very, very painful. Now, you'll see Sigyn here. She's still standing by her man. She's got a bowl, Sigyn's bowl. She holds it over his face and catches as much of the venom as she can. However, once in a while, when the bowl gets really full, she's got to run off and dump it. And when she runs off to dump it, the poison drips on Loki's face. Here, I like this one. We got the flaming red hair. Here's Loki. Here, she's gone. She's gone dumping the bowl. And Loki, because of this, he becomes the god of volcanoes. Remember, he's already the god of fire, but he's also the god of earthquakes. The Norse believed that when the earth shakes around like that, it's because Loki is struggling against his bonds with the poison dripping on his face. It's unbearable pain, and as he does this, all the earth trembles. The thing is, those special bonds that Dvalin made, I like this particular drawing because it actually looks like some kind of leather or the intestines wrapped around him. They become like steel, but when he struggles against them, they grow tighter and pull him against those sharp rocks. So it's not only the pain of that, it's also the pain of the rocks underneath him. So here he is in terrible, terrible, horrible pain, and there he will rest until the day of Ragnarok, and it is not far away. Here's another picture. I like this one too. See, those really look like intestine strap. No, we're not in a dark, lightless cave here because, of course, if the artist did it right, it'd just be a black screen. Here's another one. Faithful Sigyn trying to, it looks like the snake is trying to get around her and she's moving the bowl back and forth. Okay. That's it for this chapter.